Hello, and welcome to the Rambling Movie Club, where each episode we try and watch some new movies and hopefully find some good ones. This episode is all about the movie Oblivion, which, if you haven't seen, is a Tom Cruise movie, but it's not a standard Tom Cruise movie. Like, it's not about him just shooting everyone. It's basically all about how humans got into a fight with aliens. The humans won, but things like the moon got destroyed, and so everyone has to leave Earth because it's really dangerous and there's like radiation and stuff. Tom Cruise and this other woman are the last two left on Earth, and basically everyone else has gone to one of Saturn's moons, and they're trying to get the last of the water from Earth to then take it to this new colony. Like I said, this isn't the standard Tom Cruise movie, which is what I like about it, but that might not necessarily mean it's for everyone. It is a little slower than most people kind of expect, but if you're patient with it, it does pay off, and it has a really interesting story that I really like. I also really like the design of this movie. Like, I like the robots, the outfits, the weapons, and the computers and stuff. And this was kind of the first movie that made me think about how special effects, or not special effects, but like how computer screens and stuff had done. I did a little bit of research and I found the guy who designed all the computers and stuff in this movie. I'll talk about it a bit more later, but I found it really interesting. And also, yeah, it's got a good plot. If you haven't seen this movie, definitely go watch it before listening to this podcast, because major spoilers. But if you haven't seen it and you're just kind of curious about like what makes this movie so good, then that's fine. But this movie is kind of similar. If you like the Tom Cruise movie Live, Die, Repeat, or Edge of Tomorrow, it has two names, then you'll probably like this movie. So, on to the movie. We have an opening monologue explaining the world, and basically this is the opening crawl in Star Wars, but more engaging and kind of like updated. We meet the team, but don't learn much about them. It comes later because they want us to learn about the characters through their actions and not by them just having like a 10-minute talk and be like, oh yes, this guy does this woman does this. So like, no, let's get into the movie. So we meet Tom Cruise's character Jack, who goes down to try and fix some robots, while Vicar stays in the tower and coordinates everything. And like I said at the start, yeah, the design of the computers is amazing. There's a guy who designed all these, so basically the way it works is the computer's actually a video, and the actors just like press the screens at the right time and in the right place, which I think is really cool. And sometimes you'll see in movies where they'll put like green screens over the computers, and then basically they'll get the actors to do it, and then they'll edit the program that they want to show, like, which is basically a video. They'll then edit that in afterwards. Other times they'll do the video first, and then so then the actors have got something to interact with, and then they know like their timings and stuff. And yeah, the guy who designed these does some really good work. Jack fixes one robot, then has to go down a hole to fix another. We see shots of the scavs, the aliens, but we know almost nothing about them, which is great at making everything feel uneasy, because there's like this mysterious like foe that's kind of around. We know they're kind of following him and stuff, but we don't know why or what they want. It turns out to be a trap, and this shows how this isn't a normal Tom Cruise movie. He hides while the robot saves him, whereas normally, he'd kill everyone. Pretty good shot of the robot looking super evil, which is really well done because it doesn't even have a face, but they managed to make it scary. Jack goes back home. This is when we see everything we need to know about the characters. Jack is excited and curious about the planet, whereas Vicar instantly throws the plant out the window because it might impact them joining the other humans. Also, he's such an engineer because she's naked, and he's like, we should go down to Earth sometime, and she's just like, let's bang already. And then one of the towers gets blown up in the middle of the night, and Jack gets a mystery signal that he follows to what's left of the Empire State Building. This helps with the world building at the start, where it shows all the ruins, so you have no reason to doubt this world is any more than it seems. Clearly in ruins, why would it be any different from what we see? And this just kind of like reinforces it. This is also great because we see Jack's dreams, and he understands as much as we do. So there's this mysterious woman who he keeps seeing, and he keeps seeing shots of like the Empire State Building and stuff, but yeah, he has no idea either. Jack flies off. We get a bunch more reasons to show us that the world is heavily radiated, from the warning in the ships to Vicar in the tower. This sets up the twist that comes later really well. Jack has a secret cabin where he's been keeping all his stuff, and this shows that the world is starting to recover, because you can see all the nature and stuff coming back. And it turns out even in the apocalypse, men still find a place to stash stuff that the girlfriend won't let them bring home. The satellite comes crashing down. Vicar wants to follow instructions and stay away, but Jack is curious. It turns out to be life pods full of people. This really is what starts to make you question what you know about this movie, as we see one of the people in the pods is the woman from Jack's dreams. The drone starts killing all the people in the pods, but Jack manages to save the woman from his dreams. They wake her up and she recognizes Jack before passing out again. It's a great little teaser for you. You're like, oh, what's happening? And she's like, oh, Jack, and then passes out. So it's like, tell me, woman, what do you know? It turns out she's been asleep for 60 years. They have a super awkward dinner with her. Jack and Julia go down to the planet, and you're really starting to see how different Jack and Vicar are. It turns out to be a scav trap again. It turns out he never learns, and they take Jack hostage. Plot twist, Morgan Freeman's in this movie. Oh, and also all the scavs are actually human. This is really clever because it was deliberately not put in any of the marketing materials to really push this twist of like how Morgan Freeman's in this. And it's like, if you're going to have a twist that the aliens are humans, like why not reinforce that with one of the most popular humans there is, of Morgan Freeman. They also quickly explain why you couldn't understand the scavs before, so that you're not confused. Oh, and Jamie Lannister is also in this too, and that's pretty much every named character in this movie, which is kind of weird because I remember watching this and I watching the credits and I was like, yeah, there's only like 5 characters that are actually named in this movie, but it works really well. It suits the story. Vicar has a drone tracking Jack, whilst Jack refuses to help the humans. They in turn set him free and tell him he'll find the truth in the radiation zones. The bit where they cross the bridge, which is supposed to be, I think, the Golden Gate Bridge, or the Brooklyn Bridge, I can't remember. It's some American bridge. When he crosses that bridge, it's really bad special effects, and that's like one of the weak points of this movie. They go back to the Empire State Building, and he manages to get a code to Vicar. Jack gets really fed up that he apparently knows Julia, but she won't tell him anything. Second twist, that the control is actually the aliens, and Julia is his wife, and all the dreams he's been seeing from the start finally make sense. This is a great setup of this moment and payoff, and then we get to see the whole proposal in full, although it's kind of funny seeing Tom Cruise the same height as her when she's like a foot taller than him in real life. Just to kind of expand on the whole setup and payoff of the twisting, this movie does start slow, like I said at the start, but it's kind of worth it, and you kind of need it to get these perfect twists and with like the perfect setup. If you want an example of bad setups, you just got to look at like the most recent Star Wars movies, where like how they had Rey's parents and they've really teased it right in the first one, and then the second one they're like, oh yeah, she's no one, and it's like you've had all this setup for a big twist, and then you kind of, the twist doesn't pay off well enough, and that's kind of going too far with your setup. And then you look at something like Game of Thrones, which I won't spoil if you haven't seen. When you look at like the most recent series, there's a lot of fan complaints because the characters made decisions that didn't make sense, and that's because they had poor setup. Whereas if you'd had a little bit of like 1 line or 2 lines here and there of these characters, you know, kind of showing hints that they might become these characters, then you'd kind of see the idea of this twist in people's minds, and that's why it's really important to have this, like, get the balance right with your setup. And a lot of movies do it badly, but it's not because they don't know what they're doing, it's because it's really hard to get right. And it's something you'll see in any great story has to have the right amount of setup, and it's different for every single like twist in the story. So back to the movie. The plane shows up just as they hug very intimately, and Vicar sees everything. Jack tries to explain that she's his wife back at the tower, but come on, Jack, she has none of the context and she just thinks you're crazy. She tells their boss that things aren't working anymore, who activates the robot to kill them. Vicar gets killed and Julia manages to save Jack, which is again evidence that it's not a standard Tom Cruise movie. Control try getting Jack to go up there and he runs, so they send drones after him. And this is again when we see the setup where literally the entire first half an hour of this movie is either set up a plot twist or a skill to get out of trouble later on, and this is very clever. Jack and Julia are escaping the drones, and they end up getting knocked down into a radiation zone. And then we see there's another pilot with a similar name. Plot twist number 3, it's another Jack. And there is no way you could have seen this coming. I mean, they do talk about the radiation zones a lot, but like there's no hints that, you know, it's actually a lie. And then we also see that apparently all the Jacks have dreams of Julia, which I guess will kind of be about like, I mean, we find out later it's because he's a clone, but yeah, it's interesting. The Jacks fight and Julia gets shot. They actually do a pretty good job of making it clear which Jack is which during the fight, so you don't get confused. Which is kind of the normal thing when there's clones of being like, oh, which Jack survived? Like, and it's like, nah, we're just gonna, like, you know which one you want to root for. Our Jack steals New Jack's plane and goes to New Jack's tower. Vicar is there, who Jack hasn't seen since she exploded, and it's just like you can't imagine like the effect that's having on him. Jack goes back and saves Julia and takes her to his secret cabin. It's at this point everything you thought you knew at the start of the movie has been proven wrong. Jack goes to help the humans. Control figures out where Jack and the humans are from mission logs. They fire off the drones, but their bomber drone gets damaged and Morgan Freeman dies. Jack and Julia decide they'll go up as a suicide bomber, pretending they're turning themselves in. They fly up to Control and Jack listens to the flight recorder from Julia's ship, and then this fills in any last gaps in the story, mainly how the aliens got hold of Jack and Vicar and how the rest of the crew escapes. We also see where they got the idea for their control person and where they got the lines that Vicar repeats over and over, and now we finally know everything, which is like really rewarding. And again, like, it's that slow start that kind of pays off at this point where you're like, oh my god, I get everything. Jack enters Control and we see lots and lots of Jack and Vicar clones. Plot twist number 4 I think we're up to. Morgan Freeman wasn't quite dead and switched places with Julia, and boom, they blow up Control and save all of the humans. We jump forward 3 years and it turns out Jack has a daughter. Her and his wife are living happily. The other survivors find them, and this includes New Jack from before. This is kind of like quite a sweet ending to end on. So yeah, that's Oblivion. As I said at the start, I really like this movie a lot. It has great design and great story, and especially because I was expecting the standard Tom Cruise movie where, like, in the trailers they make out to be like, oh yeah, Tom Cruise shoots a bunch of aliens and gets away, gets the girl, and it's like, that's really not the movie at all, and I really enjoy that. I like the subversion of expectations. Yeah, it also has great design, like even the vehicles, the sets, the costumes, like I said at the start, like I think they're all really well done. one thing they do with the sets, which is now becoming more common. So when they do the shots in the tower, it is a tower, and obviously the background isn't really there. It's in some studio. But what they did was, rather than doing it as green screen, what they do is it's actually surrounded by monitors, which project the background all around the tower. And it took them a while to get it to work properly. But this is something that's used in The Mandalorian now, and it's becoming more and more common because it kind of gives, like, it makes it look better, rather than, because you can see a green screen, because especially with the outlines and stuff, like, it, you can try as hard as you want, but especially within a year or two, it looks very dated. Whereas this is, I want to say 2012 or 2013 this came out, still looks pretty good, apart from the odd bad CGI moment. I also find it crazy how great a story you can tell when you only have like 5 named characters, but this movie does it really well. And again, I know this movie isn't for everyone, but I think what it does is really, really well done. This is also the same director that made the Tron Legacy movie, which also had really great special effects that I really enjoyed, and design. The way this movie actually got made was the director made a comic that he was like, I think this is a fun story, and then halfway through the comic he was like, actually no, I'm not listening to a movie. And I've kind of found conflicting things as to like whether or not the comic is actually out there. I couldn't find it, but some people claim it is. And that basically when he was making the comic, part of it got found by Tom Cruise, who was like, I want to make this movie. And yeah, it's basically because of Tom Cruise's director that the movies got made. So yeah, I think that's a really cool way. And yeah, you can also see some from some of the shots that with the sets and stuff, like they actually made full-size versions of the plane and the drones, which again is really cool attention to detail. So yeah, so that's Oblivion. What did you think? Feel free to let me know. Next episode's movie is going to be Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which is another one of my favourite movies, and I think it's the best movie of 2019. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what year we're in. No, 2018 it came out in. Yeah, it's right at the end of 2018. Basically, if you haven't seen Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, you need to watch it. If you like any sort of comic book or superhero movies, you need to watch it. It's all about how there's this kid called Miles Morales who becomes Spider-Man, and it is not the standard Peter Parker story that we've seen in every other Spider-Man movies. And like when you watch this, you'll realise every other Spider-Man movie basically tells the same story. And yeah, basically it's about this kid Miles Morales who becomes the Spider-Man in his universe, but there's other Spider people from other universes. So yeah, it's really great and has a bunch of like different actors that I can't really talk about without spoiling. But yeah, it's just a really great movie. It's really great animation. It won the Oscar for Best Animated Movie of 2018, which is kind of weird because basically it came out at the end of the year on like December 26th, I want to say. It was like right at the end of the year, so everyone had already done their best movies of the year list, like being like, oh, there's gonna be nothing good coming out after Christmas. And so many people were like, yeah, it's just another Spider-Man movie, nobody's gonna care. Then it came out and everyone was like, oh my god, we've got to update everything, like quickly rewrite all of our best movies of the year lists, we need to put this in. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, definitely recommend watching it. So yeah, as always, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook now at Rambling Movie Club, and thank you for listening, and I will see you next time.